Welcome to another episode on Oak and Rock Fatherhood. As always, you've got your co-hosts Zach Small and Anthony Migliorino coming at you. It's a new time that we're kicking this one off. We're testing the waters, checking some things out. You know, there are some people where this is going to work better for them, so let's jump on it and let's have that discussion. As always, we're talking fatherhood, we're talking family, we're talking insights from a family man and a man in general at what's going on in the world. We're looking to bring quality content that's going to help you help yourself. And so if you like what we're doing, if you dig the message, if you watch previous episodes, make sure you've liked, subscribed, and shared to spread the good word, to let other people know there are two strong men talking about being strong fathers and leading strong families. With that, Anthony, what's going on, brother?
Nothing much, man. Good morning. Sunday morning. I love it. New time. Let's see if we can spark some interest and have those good conversations that we have often.
Dude, I'm all about it, man. This is the topic that I can talk about in any situation ever. And so we actually just finished a call. We had a coffee and camaraderie discussion with the men inside the Fraternity of Excellence. Link below if you want to check it out. It's a private men's group. We're focused on the health, wealth, relationships, everything you can imagine, especially fatherhood. But in that, we had a lot of topics come up that were focused on what it is to be a family man and the things that family men are going through. Before we dive into that, though, we have a special announcement. In our efforts to bring more family-focused content, we are creating a family man's group. A fatherhood-focused group is going to be the Oak and Rock community. We're going to be, it has a working title there. The name of the group might change. But it's going to be an Oak and Rock fatherhood community that is focused on bringing men together who are focused on families. You know, there will be a membership fee, but inside of that, you're going to get VIP access to what it is we're doing, to both Anthony and I, as well as an access to the weekly fatherhood call that's been running inside the Fraternity of Excellence, which is private to anybody else. Nobody has access to this except for FW men, but we are opening that up to the Oak and Rock men, because it is important that we sit there and we see other men going through what it is we're going through. And that has been running for 3 years straight. And so for 3 years, we've had these fatherhood calls and it has changed lives. What we're looking to do is to bring that and expand it, bring more fathers into the fray, bring more men into the discussion. And in doing so, increasing the amount of families we're impacting so they can go out and set the standard for other families. And so we're looking at the third, fourth, and fifth order of events here. And so we'll be dropping that. Stay tuned for the link. There'll be a special announcement going there. And as always, you know, those who get in first, we never forget that. So you want to get in, get it rolling. And then when you dive into that community, understand that you're going to be working on one of the best investments in yourself. You're going to have to work on you. And you're going to have access to thousands of others doing the same thing. All of these insights, all of the discussions that we have, all of the private conversations, this is not going to be open to the public. So this is where you can share the stories you might not want out there. You know, oftentimes Anthony and I, we're opening ourselves up in a degree that's much higher than most men are comfortable with. But this is what we do. It's the attitude we've always had. It's how we've approached things. It's brash. And if you don't like it, go find another channel to watch. But if you want to see men being honest and opening up the doors to see what's going on inside our world, check it out. The men inside the Oak and Rock fatherhood community are going to be getting far more than they'll even know what to do with. So I'm really looking forward to that. Stay tuned. That will be dropping very soon. But with that, I really want to bring a highlight to the point of what it is to be a part of a private community. When you are in something like that, we see it inside the Fraternity of Excellence, and we're going to replicate it and see it inside the Oak and Rock fatherhood community. You get to see men doing the real work that will get real results. Oftentimes, we see fathers who are coming together. They're talking about fatherhood. They're talking about what it is to be a good man, but they're not doing anything with it. Inside these groups, you get actionable advice. You get real world examples. And when you say something like, hey, I'm having these struggles with my daughter or my son, somebody else will say, hey, I was in your shoes. I was literally where you were. Here's what I did. This did not work. This definitely did work. Try this. You then go apply that to your situation. You don't tell them, hey, Bob from Oak and Rock Fatherhood taught me this. You just go and apply the insights. And they look at you like, damn, my dad's the man. My dad always has the answers. My dad's the kind of man that is always there, and he has access to a network, and he always has a guy for something. And everywhere we go, he can fix any problem. You become that father by inserting yourself into a network of men who are sharing their issues, sharing their growth, sharing their successes, and looking to be better men. And so with all of that, Anthony, anything you want to add to the strength and to what men can gain when they join a focused group focused on fatherhood?
No, it's well said, brother. You know, we've been running Dad's Day on Twitter now it's been, I don't even know, 20 weeks, close to. It's been a long time. And we've met amazing people. We've had great conversations with fathers. We've had situations where people get insight, they get value. They're actually changing their lives, right? They're changing the family environment. And that's what we want to do. That's what we're going to do with Oak and Rock. We're going to continue to push the fatherhood narrative, how important fathers are. what fathers can do to make changes, to find strong inner peace so they can lead their family better. And obviously we have the fraternity of excellence is where iron sharpens iron. We have men in there who are crushing life, who are sharing stories, sharing wins and losses. And this is just something we're going to continue to bring different resources. I think the main goal is to help men, but also I think one thing we're passionate about is fatherhood. And if you guys haven't heard us speak on it, get involved, listen to the conversations, and ask your questions because we usually have the answers.
That's the beauty of it. It's not easy to sit and break down what it is to be a man, how to be a better father. The context, is pretty specific. I mean, your relationships with your kids is unique. And so as we're going through this, one of the things we've got to look at is how do you take something that's pretty broad or is specific to somebody else in their relationship? How do you take that and cater it to what you're going through? And that's actually what we're focusing on today. And so when we're talking about life as a father, normally we dive into very specific aspects of being a dad. How to help your kid brush their teeth, how to, make bedtimes a little more peaceful, how to come to terms with you have the responsibility for leading a family now, and it can get hard. You've got to lead yourself as you grow, and then you're trying to lead a adult female. You're trying to lead children at whatever age. They're unique. Their needs are unique. Their challenges are unique. You've got to figure out how to lead all of them and you. That's a heavy task, but there are ways to make that less heavy. There's ways to not feel like that brunt's going to crush you, but instead turn you or motivate you or push you towards being the best man you can be. And for some, all it takes is that quick reframe of their perspective to go from the dad who can barely keep it together to the dad who has every reason to set the standard of keeping it together and to set the bar as to what a good man is. And so children have a way of doing that. And so I would say when we look at modern men, and Anthony, let me know if I'm too far off base here, but modern men are facing an entire double reality that they've got to operate within. There's the modern technical side of things they've got to learn and just to be a part of. And so that ranges from Netflix within the home to children on tablets to wives, getting caught up in the social media scroll of life validation and comparing where they're at to where they think they're supposed to be. And then there's the physical world of our food is attacking us. We've got to find a way to live healthy. Our children are growing and they're operating in a world where it seems like there's a mass psychosis going on. And then also in that physical world, you've got your day-to-day grind of just people and living and dealing with conflict with neighbors and having to operate with teachers and having to push yourself and operating with your boss. And so I think that men nowadays have far more targets they've got to be aware of, yet they've got far more resources as well. And so how can we focus on the life and optimizing the life of the modern man?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Right. If you think back through history, you were living in a cave and you just had to worry about saber-toothed tigers. So you make a spear and you go out and you gather berries and do what you have to do to survive. I think now there's way too much information that does not help you, and it's easily to get sucked into it. It's similar to a trap, right? If you're not focusing on you and what's best for you, your family's going to suffer. If everything is pointed to the external and you're worried about all these things that don't have an impact on your life, you're going to suffer. And I would say a lot of what we do and the fathers we speak with, they focus intently on the child's behavior. They never operate from a position of saying, what can I give my child? How can I help them? What can I offer them to improve the life, right? They're always focused on the external. My kid's crying. My kid's rude. My kid doesn't say please or thank you. And you have to look at what you're building, right? You have to look at the foundation that you've given them. And what I always say is it needs to be based on principles. The golden rule, however you want to phrase it, you have to treat your kids like human beings. You have to give them the rights, the love and consideration that you yourself would want. And I think once you do that, right? Once you say, I'm not going to hit my kid anymore, I'm going to find better ways. The other things don't become such a distraction, right? All the things you just mentioned, they don't take away from what the mission is of the family. They're there. They're going to be obstacles, and you can face them. One good way to get past these tough obstacles we face in life is to have conversations with other fathers who are going through the process, who are learning, or who have accomplished great things. right? If when you're closed, when you're sitting in that cave still by yourself, you're not going to figure things. You're not going to figure things out. And unfortunately, what you do is you get led down a path of darkness because everybody else is operating in a low emotional state or a heightened emotional state, right? Everybody else is scared of the next plague. Everybody else is scared of the economic depression. Everybody's scared of feminists taking over the world or Putin raising gas prices. This is what they feed off of. But if you can focus on yourself, you can focus on your family, I guarantee you won't be as distracted, but then you'll start to see the benefit. Like you'll start to see forward progress with your kids, with your wife, and just the overall environment that you set in your home.
Not only will you see that though, you'll find yourself in a place where you don't feel so isolated in that aspect of struggling. A lot of men think that when they're having a hard time, there's something wrong with them and they're alone. Like they're the only dad who's getting it wrong. They're the only dad who's having a hard time with their son or their daughter. They're the only husband who's struggling to get things right with their wife. And when you feel that sense of isolation, it's very destructive because you feel like you can't turn to anybody. We were recently talking about the need for men who can operate at that level of understanding and construction of self. And when you want to be a great man, you want to be a great family man, you need to have other family men you can rely upon or other men you can speak to about these things. And there are too many men out there where their closest associates want to talk about professional sports or beer or just, shooting guns and hunting and all these things, which are great. They're awesome things to do, but they're not the entirety of a man. And if you can only have those conversations, but you can't talk about, the noises and the voices you hear when you're alone in your bedroom. Am I going to make it? How are we going to survive this? What's going on in the world? This isn't what I wanted for my kids. You can't talk to them about, hey, the relationship with my wife has gotten stale. My kids and I, we're just defaulting to distractions. We're sitting and watching TV. We're sitting and playing on tablets. We're not doing anything together. They're not growing. Who can you talk to if your friends can't meet you at that level? And this is where you have to find those men. This is where you've got to go out. We're no longer confined by physical proximity in any of this. We can reach to men. I mean, we're talking right now. You're in South Carolina, North Carolina. We're literally doing it in front of your eyes. But if you go on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all these social media platforms, you can find the men who are talking about these things. You can find the motivated people who are out there living the life that is in the direction that you want to go yourself. And so as life as the modern man, as while it seems we're more connected than ever because of social media, we're more isolated than ever. Nobody's going on Facebook and putting in their public profile, how do I better parent my child? It's always, my kid's an asshole. I can't wait for school to start. That's what you see. Nobody's saying, hey, how do you deal with a kid who doesn't want to eat their vegetables? What did you guys do? Like, how did that help? It's always a tongue-in-cheek, my kid's not eating his peas, or my kid doesn't like broccoli. I'm going to make him. It's just a whole mess. When you go to a place where it's higher, where the conversations are higher, the discussions are higher, you'll find yourself getting pulled up to that level. You'll elevate yourself. You'll elevate your performance. You'll elevate the connection with your family. But modern men, most aren't doing that. Most find themselves alone. Most find themselves thinking that real men don't share their feelings. I'm a strong man. Nobody cares what I say. Go on TikTok. There's an entire theme of men who are angry about, I think it was June, was men's mental health awareness. And they were, or maybe it's July. I don't even know. And I'm a man, but apparently we have a month talking about our mental health. And everybody was talking about how it was gay pride this, and it was focusing on that, and it was this, that, and the other, and that nobody cared about men's health. Men do. There are men who do care about men's health, but there are so few of us, and yet, and such a rarity for a man to be open and honest about these aspects of being a man, that it's just lost in the sauce. It's just lost with all this other promotion of all these distractions. And I view the distraction to be static, man. I think that the whether it's the gay pride, whether it's the trans movement, whether it's political, I mean, there's so many distractions. I would say even football and Major League Baseball, and you know where I stand with baseball. These are distractions from you looking at your life and meeting other people to talk about things that really matter. What is it like to be a father who feels like he's failing his kids? Who are you going to talk to about being a husband who can connect better with his wife? How can you look in the mirror and start to respect the person that you see? If you're not willing to do the work and have the discussions, you're never going to reach the point where you're actually living a good life. And I would say most of the motherfuckers out there who are struggling, it's preventable, and you can reach them and you can change the direction. But these guys are sitting there by themselves thinking, I'm alone and I have nobody to turn to. And that's what we want to fix. The life of the father is not meant to be the plow horse out in the field, put to pasture to work until dead. Being a father is so much more than that. We just need to start having that discussion to help you see it.
Yeah. No, and Zach, I would say to go a little bit beyond that scope, right? It's not just that you need to have other men to communicate and share things with, right? We need to realize that if we're building families, our families need to support us. Our wives need to support us, our kids, our grandparents. Like men do not have to go at this alone. It doesn't make you strong to keep things in, right? Because we see what happens, right? It builds up the pressure, the stress, the anxiety, and it breaks most men. Most men are not living that fulfilled life, right? They're not going after their dreams. They're not taking care of themselves. How many men do you know who are obese, who won't even go to the gym or change their eating habits to show that they care about themselves? These are real problems that are showing up. We were talking this morning about our relationships we have, and there's never been a time where I've been worried or scared to tell my wife what I'm going through. Right? I don't put it on her to solve the problem. I don't say, "Hey, I'm a weak man. I need you to fix me." I say, "Hey, there's some things I'm going through and I need to talk to you." My kids are grown adults now, most of them. I can't tell you how much insight I get from them. Right? There's things we speak on, conversations, no surface level crap, real life discussions. They'll share a story with me, I'll share a story with them, and they will give me input on how to better myself. And I don't take it as, oh man, I'm a weak dude, I have to take advice from my kids. I look at it like, man, my children are far surpassing me, right? They are able to think critically, they're able to face challenges and improve and get better. And a lot of that does, I have to give myself credit, me and my wife, because it's the principles we've parented with, right? Peaceful parenting. We've allowed our kids the freedom to be who they are, to not be shamed, to speak up, to have a voice, and also for them to seek help. And what a great, you want to talk about a community. What a great community that you can build and develop if the people who are in that community, they know the goal is to get better, right? If they falter, if they have a setback, they're not saying, "Oh man, I'm a bad person. I can never overcome this. How could I think so little of myself?" Right? Those thoughts do not keep them paralyzed. It doesn't keep them stuck in the downtrend. They see it as opportunity to get better. And I think that's a lot of what we spoke about this morning in the fraternity, right? There are things that we're going to suffer from, things that are going to kick our ass, and we're not going to have all the right tools to get past them. And sometimes you just need a voice of reason, a voice of comfort, somebody to tell you, "Hey, man, I'm listening. I don't know how to help you, but I'm here with you." And that is something that we miss from childhood, right? That is a need or a desire that's not given to most adults when they're kids. So when they become adults, they're completely void of it. All you need to do is start giving your kid permission to be themselves by saying, "I hear you, I see you, I love you." You will be amazed at what blossoms from that, right? It's nothing but forward movement. They're going to flourish, they're going to thrive, and they're going to help you because now you get out of your old ways and you see how amazing it is to be that motivational, inspirational dad. And your kids are going to reciprocate. They're going to give you that love back.
Look at that, man. I mean, obviously you can see that I'm smiling. So I'm thinking about that, and it's interesting. Here's a juxtaposition in my life, man. I I was thinking of my kids when you were talking just then. And so I was smiling because I was like, our home is our safe space. Like when my kids are stressed out, they want to come home. They want to sit in that living room. They want to snuggle up with us. They want to watch a show, or they want to hang out or read together or talk together. And so my family, I'm seeing their future based upon their present. And I'm seeing you talking about the reps you and Rachel put in and giving yourself the pat in the back. Like that's a good, like it's fucking true. It's real. You did the hard thing and you're getting the results from that. You didn't take the easy path of just basically apathetic and get away from me. Or I only engage with you when you're bothering me. There's a lot of parents in that situation, and the kids in that situation grow up to be parents in that situation. But that doesn't have to be the case. And so this is why I was smiling. I was thinking of my kids and how they would lean into the home. I was a kid who there was a lot, like there's a long history to my childhood. And there's a lot of like peaks and valleys in it. And I always wanted to be out of the house. I always wanted to sleep at friends' house. I always wanted to be away. And I didn't really lean in. I didn't learn how to lean in. And that was a detriment to myself. I didn't know how to ask for help. It's still somewhat uncomfortable for me to get over those emotions. Like there's some initial resistance. And I view that now as a need to do the thing. But in my youth, the resistance overcame me. And I just held it in and I isolated myself. And I was like, I'll just deal with it like a man. And I think about all the other men doing it. So that's the juxtaposition there, as to where my kids, I see them and I see kind of how they operate and the way they handle conflict and stress and how open they are. And dude, they've asked Jackie and I some wild questions. And they've put us in the spot on things I'm like, I would never talk to my mom or dad about that. But my son and daughter do. And they're in an environment where that's expected. And in this home, that's okay. And you can share your struggles. And when you're mad at the other person, my kids have had conversations where, Dad, I don't like the way you do this. Or you said this, but you did that. Why did you not stay to your word? Have you ever had a 10-year-old say that to you, man? You're like, damn, I would rather him punch me in the face than say that, dude. But it's a learning thing. And the way I see it is he's in an environment that's open to that. He can say the truth without fear of, oh, Dad's going to get mad because I spoke to him. You know, a lot.
Well, it's holding you accountable to a degree.
Well, dude, but men can't do that. Grown men can't. They hold it and they tuck it in. And so that's what I was just thinking of when you were talking is my kids, I was wicked happy about that, but it also comes with that little bit of a weight. And this is where I focus on the pressure. When it comes to what Anthony and I do, at least for me, there's a pressure to this when I think about the men who aren't living that. And I think about the homes that are filled with darkness and just a lot of picking at one another. And the home is the last place the kid wants to be. And they learn that a family is meant to be that dysfunctional. That's how it's supposed to work, because they follow example, not advice. And if you're willing to admit that children will follow your daily habits, they'll follow your example of drinking, they'll follow your example of exercising or not exercising. If you're willing to admit that, you have to admit too, they're following your example as to what that role means. So what does it mean to be a husband? What does it mean to be a father? And for our daughters, you know, a wife or a mother. They're imprinting that as well. It's not just your daily habits. It's how you treat the role. Do you treat your kids like they're in the way, or do you treat them like they're a fuel for you to do better? And in many fathers that we see struggling now, they were taught as kids to just stay out of the way and be quiet. Do as you're told without questioning authority. And so they pass that to their kids. But the greatest things those men could do is to start questioning authority and start asking those questions and start opening up instead of shutting down. You're not a bad man because you have emotions. You're not a bad man because you feel things like this. This is ridiculous. You're not a bad man because something happens and you cry. You're not a bad man or a weak man because you can go to that level inside where the human nature of who you are as a person comes out. That's being a human being. We experience things. We feel things. We go through certain emotions that are very hard. And as men, no matter how many fucking muscles you have, no matter how confident you are or how thick that glorious beard is, if you fucking feel pain, you feel pain. And that's an element of being a man, is it being able to express that pain. And so I tell my kids when I'm stressed out, I tell my wife when we're going through things. And, you know, recently on the call, I gave this example. You know, I don't run to my wife like she's my mother. She's not mommy, and I'm not the oldest kid in here that she has to take care of. I'm not like Homer Simpson or Peter Griffin. But I was thinking of the scene in 300 where they kick the Persian into the hole. And this is kind of the best example I can run with right now because it's fresh in my head. And so before he kicks that dude into the hole, he understands that's going to start a war. You're killing a messenger just for speaking and saying things he didn't like. And so before he did that, he turned to his wife, and it wasn't for permission, but rather confirmation. Am I making the right choice here? Is what I'm seeing what I think I'm seeing? And you turn to your wife because that's the person that you have given the strongest title to. Wife. Not son, not daughter, not friend, wife. You have brought her onto your life wagon for the entirety of your world and the rest of your existence. You gave her that permission. You gave her that, privilege of access to you. And so she should carry some responsibility with it, which means she is looking out and she's paying attention and she knows you and she understands what will work best for you and what isn't going to be aligned with your mission. And so when Leonidas looked to his wife and she nodded her head, she's like, yeah, dude, trust your gut. You're right in the money here. If she had said, no, you're seeing this wrong, he might have chosen different. Maybe he didn't, but he might have. But you turn to her for consultation. I don't go to Jackie to solve my problems. I go to Jackie to help me make sure I'm looking at these problems properly or I'm not overlooking anything. And so when Leonidas turned and kicked that motherfucker into the hole, he did so knowing this is true to my values. There are a lot of men who don't know their values, and so they can't make a decision. They don't kick anybody down the hole. They don't say no to anybody, and they get trampled because of it. and they never turn to their wife. So their wife doesn't know what her role is. She's never sought for counsel. They're only engaged in passing, and maybe he touches her butt once in a while. But if we can bring better health to the relationship, if we can get those engagements between husband and wife better, that gets better engagement between parents and child better. That gets better engagement with man and himself in the mirror better. That's how we help these men, man. And in a community of men, and a community of people living that role, that's how we help them get to a better station in life, because they see other men doing the same. I can look to you and say, you know the same struggles I have because you have kids and a wife. You can relate to me. I can't go to the international playboy who's driving around in Lambos and popping bottles with models. I can relate about business. I can relate about fitness, but about leading a family, the fuck does he know? He's never done it. And so family men uniting under one umbrella to come together and to share these discussions, that's how we help men get better. We swap notes and they can say, holy shit, I've hid all of my feelings from my wife because I thought that's what a man did. But now I see these other men speaking to their wives and look at how fucking great they're doing. I want to be like that. Maybe I should start opening up a little. And then the process begins of the change, the improvement, the growth. It all starts with just seeing somebody else doing it and then just popping on board and then doing it yourself.
Yeah, no, 100%, man. And I'm going to go back to the Playboy that you mentioned. Not only does he not know because he doesn't have a family, but I guarantee you he came from a highly dysfunctional family. Just throwing that out there. But I would say, to your point, Zach, with the whole family unit and what you're building, what we're doing, it is great to be a part of something and to be able to speak your mind, whether good or bad, and know that the people that you've chosen to have in your life understand, right? That they have your back, that they're listening, they're there for you. And like you said, my wife doesn't need to fix me. She doesn't need to solve my problems. That's my burden, right? That's my responsibility. That's self-ownership. Same thing with her. If I had a wife who was needy and always needed me to fix her, it would be exhausting, right? So as we go through these moments of growth and I'm becoming better, she's becoming better, we have a setback. I look to her and she says, keep going. Same thing, right? She has a setback. She looks at me and I'm like, let's keep going. We're not giving up. We've come this far. We're on 24 years now of building a family together. There's no way we're going to give up. There's no way I'm going to say, oh, I must have chosen the wrong woman, right? She's weak. No, I picked her for a reason. We've built what we've built over the years, and there is nothing weak about that. Family men, dads, husbands, they need to understand where this strength comes from, right? This isn't saying that you never have a tough conversation, you never get your wife involved because you're a weak man. This is saying you take pride in what you've built. And it's the same thing with your kids. Like I mentioned before, I learn so much from my kids each day, right? And they'll continue to learn from me. But if we don't have that mutual respect, if we're not engaged on the same level playing field, we're not going to understand everything else, right? We're not going to understand the concept that if a guy comes to the front door in a mask in the middle of the night, that's dad's job. Hey, dad, go get your gun, right? There's things that we need to fulfill as men, as mothers, as fathers, and even as kids. There's roles that we play. And to be clear on those roles, we have to be accepted. The moment that kids break away from that environment, that they don't feel accepted anymore, that is the moment where they go and they explore the world and they are getting attached to people who lack the same accountability, right? They don't have any self-ownership. So now that you have the blind leading the blind, right? Instead of your kids being in your home and seeing that foundation, seeing how powerful it is, seeing how strong, what a strong father does, what a strong husband acts like, what a mother is supposed to do, right? These aren't foreign concepts, but we've avoided them because I think they've become difficult in a modern age. I don't think they're easy anymore. And when I say easy, they are more difficult, but if you do the work, they become easier.
Well, that's the thing too. You make it a habit of being a good man. You know, it's easier to go to the gym if that's a part of your daily routine than it is to start going to the gym. You know what I mean? So when you first start, it is difficult. You know, Rick brings something up, or R. Mahoney brings something up that stands out, because I think when it comes to being a man, a lot of what we're seeing is preying upon the insecurity of men. And so there's two paths here, though. There are those who prey on men saying, oh, you have to pretend to be this to think you're a big man. And so the guy's like, no, I'm not pretending to do that. I can share my feelings and I support women and I'm all about, you're this, that, and the other, the empowerment. And then there's those who say, oh, to be a man, you've got to be this, this, and this. And the men who never were that, they went through middle school and high school as just, they never got to be the tough guy. They never played the sports. They never were confident in themselves. And now they're starting to find their way. And they're like, well, something's wrong with my life. I want to be better. They look at that side of the house. And so they're not going to the empowerment where a lot of men go. We see a big divide here. A lot of men are going to wearing the pink pussy hats and women empowerment and everything. And they completely like, I share my feelings. And there's a whole video montage of guys who are like, oh, when you flex and you do that little muscle there, I'm sure you've seen the video where it's like, that means nothing. Tough guys don't do that. Real men don't worry about the size of their muscles. There's a whole message where men are like, you're right. We don't care about the size of our muscles. I'm really glad my triceps showed up there too. Because if it didn't, I would have been like, man, that was not a good example. And so we go through and these men, they double down on pushing down what it is to masculinity. They push down the testosterone. They push down all those urges men naturally have. The other men do the opposite. They try to prove they're a man by drinking their whiskey and going and, shooting their guns and growing their beards. And they're all missing the fucking point. And Rick, or R. Mahoney here, hits the nail on the fucking head. He says there are men that also hide themselves in achievement. For instance, a man who functionally is successful at making money, but gets blind drunk in his off hours. These are the men who have the money. They buy the 15 AR-15s. They buy the 10 pistols. They have all the beard care. They wear fucking 9-line apparel, whether they served or not. They're all pro-America, resist, all these things. They're the men who have not, it's faux bravado. It's faux masculine, kind of like a faux hawk. This is not a real fucking mohawk. It's a fake mohawk. F-A-U-X. It's faux masculinity and faux strength and faux alpha. It's fake. It's not real. Buying that gun, growing the beard, doing these things doesn't make you a good man. Those are things that men can do, but it's not who men are. Real men can stand their ground, and when the world goes crazy, they stand tall. They're the oak and the rock. The oak is living, it's connected, it's growing, it's got deep roots to its family. It's the father who can take a knee and speak to his children on their level. It's the man who, when the world's going crazy, will go to the school board meeting and say, hey, maybe these kids don't need masks, and maybe it's okay for us to not push any sexuality onto them or any transgender onto them or any critical race theory onto them. The real man who can just stand up and say, hey, let's keep our wits about us, community. That's a man. The real man who says, hey, I'm going to go and volunteer to coach my kids' sports. I'm going to get down to their level. I'm going to go outside and play with my children. I'm going to let my children tell me ways that I can improve as a father. That's being a fucking man. That's who you are as a man. And so both paths, they go against the whole point of what needs to be addressed here. One is this fake achievement as to you being a good man, which you're not. It's great that you can make money, but being a good man means all the titles you have. Do you speak to your woman? Do you keep that relationship fresh? Do you pick your girl up and still have some fun with her? Or do you just treat her like mommy or the nagging wife? Do you go to your kids? Are they a ball and chain? Are they fueled to be better? If you're getting drunk every night or you're getting high to deal with the stress of parenting, how the hell are you going to go online and type that you're a good man? Or walk around like, oh, I've got balls of steel because I can shoot a gun. Motherfucker, you can shoot a gun, but you can't run your mouth to your children and talk to them about how they're feeling about something. That's not okay. You need to be able to operate within the home. The perception of being strong is not being strong. Being strong is being strong. Being emotionally strong. Being strong with your relationships. Being able to discuss the hardest aspects of your life, which is, what am I avoiding? Have I healed from my childhood trauma? Am I passing that on to my kids? Is there now a generational curse in this family because nobody can break it? That takes a very strong man to face those things and answer those questions. And so when I look at it, that divide, you've got to get out of both groups. You don't need to be a male feminist and you don't need to be fucking Randy Savage. There's a dude in the middle who's just a normal man doing what it is you enjoy doing, that you can better connect with your family. You can better connect with yourself. And that to me is the maximum expression of masculinity. You live life on your terms. You have healthy relationships, strong connections. And I spoke about the oak being this growing thing that's connected, providing shade, providing value, being an oak. You're also a rock. You can be a hard motherfucker. You can be a strong man that nobody's going to budge. And you stand for your family. You stand for your virtues and your values. And you know what they are. A lot of men have no idea. They have no compass to guide them. So they think, well, I made a lot of money, so I'm successful. You got to go further than that. You got to be more than a walking paycheck. You're just as bad as the plow horse. You just happen to have a nice saddle on you. You're still a plow horse. Go out there and be a fucking man. Or like me, a fucking gorilla. That's how I look at it. That's my fucking spirit animal, brother. I'm fucking that big ass silverback that walks in the middle of the road. And when the car comes by, I'm like, bitch, I will flip you over before you touch my family. You know, that's kind of where I go with
Silverback's better than the Randy Macho Man Savage.
I think so too. Not as cool glasses, but definitely cool.
No, man, Zach, that's spot on. And I think it's important to note everything you're talking about is there for a reason, right? This is happening because if we look at men in general and how they form as a tribe, I would say that this is the only demographic, right? Men's groups or the community of men, fathers, husbands, where we put each other down from insecurity. There's no coming together, right? The guys at the top who think they're alpha are going to put down the betas. The guys on the bottom who are weak and computer nerds are going to make fun of the muscle bound guys, right? There's nothing where we're saying, hey, let's come together and let's fix this. And I mean that because in society, women do it, gays do it, lesbians, trans community, minorities, blacks, Hispanics. Everybody has this sense of pride and coming together for the benefit of the group. Men do not have that. We have been conditioned to break each other down, to really destroy each other, because we've been told, I would say almost, that if you are successful, how the hell can I be? I have to pull you down to my level. And we get caught in this. This is a big lie. And we no longer work together. We're always quick to be judgmental, to gossip, to talk shit about other men. And the funny thing is we say, oh, women are the worst with this. I would say women are a lot more open about what goes on in their mind and sharing what's going on inside. So that's probably why we see it. And I'm not saying men need to be like that, but men don't need to be silent anymore. We need to speak up. We need to talk about what's going on, how we could be better dads, how we could be better husbands, and get rid of all this insecurity of leveling up or being at the same level of other men, right? We need to stop breaking each other down. We need to start helping each other build up. And it's a lot of what we do when we talk about, especially on the parenting front, right? You're not fighting with your kids. You're there to build them, to create human beings who are going to go out and enjoy the world and be successful. We need to look at that with men, right? I'm not here to bring you down so I can look better. That shit has to go. That is not healthy. It's not healthy for friendships. It's not healthy for men's rights and men actually healing from mental health problems, or stop being fat, right? You want to unfat yourself. Let's start supporting men. Let's not pick guys apart and say, oh, you're a fat fuck, you're lazy. Let's say, hey, brother, hop on my back. I got you. Let's go build this. Let's go build you a better body. And we see this all the time, but I guarantee you the vast majority of men have not experienced that. They're experiencing the poking, the criticism, right? They're being treated like a child still because they're allowing other men to treat them like a child, right? It's the unappreciative dad, the controlling mother. That's what I see with most men, right? They can't break past that. All you need to do is just put yourself out there and say, hey, this is me, I'm fucked up, or hey, this is me, I'm doing good. Let's roll, right? What are you doing?
You'd be surprised how many men are living that same life too. And when we say the life of a father, there are a lot of dads out there that are going through this that don't know other dads are going through this. Everybody thinks it's like their own special issue. You know, you look at when you see those flyovers of like, especially like California, like downtowns where like all the houses are right on top of each other, or any city, like if you were to take one of those blocks, let's say it's 100 families, that's 100 different men who think they're the only ones going through their issue. They don't think another man on that block is having marriage issues. They don't think another man on that block is trying to figure out how do you raise a teenage girl? How do you raise a teenage boy? How do you deal with financial uncertainty with crazy economic times? They think they're the only men who are concerned about the direction society's heading. They think they're the only ones going through all these problems that we're seeing because we've been taught, again, that we need to stifle that shit down. We need to swallow it. It doesn't matter. Where does that come from? Because when you were a kid and you tried bringing up your perception, it didn't matter. You were just a kid. Nobody wanted to hear it. What do you know? Don't worry about it. It's for the adults only. Constant messaging that your opinion doesn't matter. Your voice does not need to be heard. This is above you. And so you hear that enough times to where you're like, I don't need to share my voice. Nobody cares what I have to say. I just have to figure it out. And so you learn to figure it out as a kid. You start figuring it out as an adult. You never figure it out, but you keep telling yourself it's not anybody else's burden. You're the only one that should be carrying this. And that's not the case, man. You need to have that network. You need to have those friends, going back to what I said earlier, who can operate in that level. And so when you say, hey, I'm not feeling satisfied in my life. I'm making money, but there's a void. I'm not happy. Are we supposed to just do this till we die? Just pay the checks and go on the once a year vacations and check the box and sit down and, die. That's it. Get drunk on the beach year after year, watch your kids grow, tell them to go away. They're gone. They come in for a holiday. They leave for that holiday. And that's your life. There's no mission. There's no grand vision. There's no personal goals set. It's just kind of do the things, check the box, go along. That's what leads to apathetic existence. You're just in the current of what you're told to do. Pay your taxes, get a family, try and get divorced. That way we can get 2 mortgages and two property taxes and 2 sets of this and 2 sets of that, as a good consumer would. You don't buy one thing, you buy 2. Let's split the families up, 2 Christmases, double the gifts. Let's keep feeding the government all the things they need. We're going to go down the wrong path here. Yeah. we got to take a left because I'm about to go down this rabbit hole. Taking to the left here. When you look at it, that is what is normal. It's normal for shattered homes. It's normal to spank kids. It's normal for husbands and wives to not have sex with each other and to just fight. It's normal to get divorced. Everything that's bullshit is normalized, and being exceptional is sort of stigmatized. If you eat a certain way, you're weird. If you sit in your peaceful parenting, you're weak. If you have a good relationship with your wife, you're a slave to the system and you're doing everything she says. It's like, what the fuck? So it's either be broken or be told that you're wrong. How the fuck is broken right? How the fuck is having a life in shambles what's normal? Because it's what's popular? I refuse to jump onto that. And it's not even I'm going to resist the thing. Though that probably is a part of it. The bigger thing here, I refuse to have my life dictated by another. I have one life to live. Fuck no, am I going to allow a company or societal norms tell me what I should go and do with my life, how I should go and raise my kids, what normal looks like. I don't want to be on medicine. I don't want me and my wife to both be popping pills to get through our days. I don't want my kids, absolutely loathing us and can't being able to wait until they can leave our home. That's what you see in a lot of homes. But if we had more fathers who are living the way we're living, which is, hey, let's be open, let's be honest about this, let's address it. Let's make sure that we're taking care of our minds, taking care of our bodies, prioritizing ourselves as individuals and strengthening us so it strengthens the marriage. That's what I want to see. That's what I want to be a part of. That's sustainable. That's long-term. I mean, dude, you pop smoke and left New York City for South Carolina. I popped smoke and left Rhode Island for North Carolina. We went and just did the thing. Do you know how many men along this path, and I've seen it happen to you as well, where people are like, I wish I could do that. You can do that. You can live the life you want any moment you want to. You can stop the violence in the home. You can stop the arguing with the wife. You can get your marriage back to where you're fucking, like, as teenagers, Jackie and I had to hide from her parents and my parents, to get some alone time. And nowadays, Jackie and I are hiding from our kids to get some alone time. You can get your marriage to where it's just as fun as when it started. That ball and chain I mentioned earlier about the kids, you can start to have fun with those little human kettlebells. Grab them, pick them up, swing them around, play with them. You can make those relationships with your children something that strengthens you. And that's what you mentioned earlier. My kids, they're younger, but I'm still learning from them. They're still teaching me things. Mostly they're teaching me things about me. They're like, why are you the way you are? I'm like, fuck. Oh, I don't want to answer that question, but I have to. Because when you do that, you got to face that shit. Man. You got to go in and see, why do I act the way I act and think the way I think? It's interesting, man. But honestly, it's so much better than the alternative, which is to fucking be in that little rat race. I'm not playing that fucking game.
No, man, it is. It's so much better to be who you are, right? Without restriction, without fear, without worry of, are people going to accept you? And I think ultimately that's what it comes down to, right? If you as a man, if you don't have a strong inner presence, you're not going to be able to express outward who you are, right? You're going to keep things bottled up. You're going to get angry and pissed off at little insignificant things in life, right? The kid spills the drink. The wife speaks to you in a tone that you don't accept, right? In the wrong manner. These are going to rip you apart if you don't have that strong inner persona. And I think you have to teach your kids this lesson. And the only way you're going to teach them is if you live it, if you be it. If you are okay with all the dark shit that you have and all the light, right? You have to share with your kids everything. And it doesn't mean to dump your garbage on them, but it means to be honest, to be true. And then when you do that, your kids are going to have no choice to follow your example because they're going to see how freeing it is. And that's really what it is, right? We create these internal prisons where we're constantly thinking and worrying about systems that don't matter, right? What am I going to do here? How am I going to do that? Um, what happens if the economy crashes? What happens if my wife leaves me? What happens if my kids don't clean their room? Like we're always operating in this prison of fear that controls not only how we respond to them or how we react to them, but it controls what goes on inside of us. So as the pressure builds and builds and builds, we look in that mirror and now we see a man that we don't respect, that we don't care about. And we're thinking, how the fuck did I get here? Right? Who is this guy looking at me? This isn't who I wanted to be. This isn't who I'm supposed to be. Right. And it is a fabrication of all the garbage, all the bullshit that you've let control you in your life. You need to let it go. Right. You need to honestly be around other men who are saying, yeah, brother, I felt like that, man. And I had to fucking destroy that person. Right. I had to kill them. They no longer exist. This is where I'm going now. And you do that for yourself, but you also do that, like you said, Zach, to show your kids the example and let them know that it's possible for them to do it also, right? No matter where you came from, no matter what you went through, the past is done, it's over. You keep building a new future. And that's real important to show your kids that, they can have anything they want in life, but they can be whoever they want in life, right? They're not controlled by other people and they're free to go out and experience that. That is, to me, that's the ultimate freedom. Everybody talks freedom. You're not taking my guns. You're not taking my mind. I'm controlling my outcomes. I'm controlling where I go. And I'm going to teach my kids that until I die.
That was really good. That was fucking solid, man. And looking at it, I mean, think about that. Think about what you just said. Control over you. How many men have that? Not many, dude. They're controlled by social media. They wake up every day looking to be told what they're mad at that day, what they're afraid of that day. And that's how they start. They start every day. They grab this fucking little device and they're like, all right, today it's Trump. All right. Pissed off about Trump today. The next day, Biden falling off a bike. The next day, oil. The next day, Ukraine. I can't keep up. I had a running joke where I was saving tweets from the previous day of what people were pissed off about. And then I was kind of bringing it up. I was like, hey, do you remember when Gillette was pissed off about masculinity? Dude, that's like 45 years ago. Even though it was like 2, they lost their shit. What about the American Psychological Association saying masculinity was like a mental health disorder or detrimental to young men? We've come so far with how fast we're getting shitty news, and it's all by design. But those who aren't playing the game are thriving. Like since 2020, I've had some of the best years of my life. And it's been crazy. It's not because it was easy. It's because it's just been, the world went nuts. And I was like, oh, cool. I'm just going to keep doing me. And, I found a way to get ahead and be that light for others. And the men who grabbed those ropes that we were throwing, you and I just said, hey, guys, keep your cool. We'll figure it out. We'll get through this together. They centered themselves and realized, wait a minute. You're saying I don't have to be pissed off all the time? I don't need to be afraid? Brothers, I'm telling you now, brothers on YouTube, brothers on Twitter and Facebook who are listening, you do not have to fucking follow the path laid out for you by your overlords of these companies who are trying to get you addicted. They understand the games they're playing, all the dings, all the vibrations, all the notifications, the color schemes, those red dots saying you got one notification, you click on it and there's nothing there. They just wanted you to log in. And now you can see the next thing you're mad about. And now you're scrolling for hours. You wonder why your wife's upset or why she can't value her life. She doesn't look around her and see what's positive or what she's doing well. She's looking online being told you're not good enough. Check these ads, buy this dress, buy this perfume, buy this thing. You'll feel better. Then you'll be good enough. And once it arrives in the mail with that 48-hour shipping, within those 48 hours, she's forgotten about the things she wanted and is focused on the next thing. That is the cycle people are in, man. And it's crazy because you're talking about keeping your mind free and not letting anybody fucking claim that shit. That fucked me up because I'm like, if we could get more operating from that angle of understanding that you choose your path, you choose the games you play. You don't have to be a part of this. If more could understand that their minds are free and they're free to make the choice, like, my God, it'd be like a bunch of Viktor Frankls running around. If we could just give them that book and everybody that book and that mindset to say, you're free from your circumstances. You need to find your own sense of meaning and purpose, in your pursuit of what it is your life is meant to be. the dent you're meant to leave, dude, people would start to see, I have the power. I have all of the power in my hands. I just have to make the right choice now. That's what we're looking to do. And we're running this YouTube space on a Sunday, and it's a holy day for many. When you're sitting there and you're going and you're looking to your God and you're looking to whatever it is you're going to worship on this day, or whatever you're thinking about on this day, or maybe it's just your day of rest. On this day, connect with the world around you and start to look at the role you play in it. Are you being told what to do? You know, it's like Jack Donovan says, are you an actor who's living your life? Are you being acted upon and being told what you're allowed to do? I think if you can find the answer to that question, you'll start to see where the path leads from there. Look at where you're at. Really assess where it is you want to go and see, are the actions bringing me where I want to go? Or am I being told to go in a direction that I didn't even choose, to a destination I don't even want? You'll see that your actions tell everything. I don't need to see what you think. I need to know what you're doing. It's acted on verb, which is deeds, not words. It's your actions, not your thoughts. They're going to get you where you need to go.
Yeah, no, definitely, man. You have to take action. You have to go out and get what you want in life. I was saying before about how men attack other men and how it's this, I guess, accepted behavior that we do. Everything we were just talking about, Zach, I've shared with a lot of men, right? My life experience, how I think. And there are guys who still push back on that, right? They're like, oh, man, you're a hippie, or, you're talking all this peace and love. That is exactly my example, right? We need to hold men accountable for what they believe, what they think. And I'm going to be sure as hell to live that way, right? These are my values. These are things that I hold in my heart, and how I treat my family, how I treat my wife, how I treat my kids, how I treat my friends. And if you want to test it, let's have the conversation, right? Be a part of the solution. Don't always pick people apart and tell them what they're doing wrong, right? That's lower brain order thinking, right? Always coming from a negative perspective. Well, that guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Start leaning into people who have different perspectives, right? Start questioning things, start seeking advice, start those conversations. We do our YouTube channel. We are having Zooms and FOE throughout the week. We do Dad's Day every day of the week. And that level, how I've seen it grow, like the men who come on, and even the women, they share their stories, they share their life, and they're actually making changes that are getting them to where they want to go. If they never jumped on that Dad's Day, they would have never made that change. That's how critical it is, right? If they never heard me and you speak about, hey, maybe you don't need to hit your kid. They come on. There's guys who come on and say, hey, I haven't spanked my kid in 3 months. Everything is completely different. My kid is happy. I don't have to yell anymore. We find better ways to solve problems. That's why we're doing it, right? And that's just the parenting aspect. We do this with the men, right? I'm here to take men to higher levels because I want to go to higher levels. I don't need them to feed my ego. I don't need to say, oh, Anthony, thank you so much for helping me. Let's keep going, brother. Let's reach greater heights. I am not going to be content with where I'm at now from where I have to go in 6 months, right? I want to keep growing. I want to show my kids they need to keep growing. I want to show my friends that, hey, man, don't accept mediocrity, right? Keep pushing yourself to be better. I don't care if it's tough. I don't care if it's hard. And when it does get hard, reach out to me. Let me know. Maybe I can help. Reach out to Zac. Maybe, sometimes he has good things to say as well. So this is the game I'm playing, man, and it's real.
You're talking about the changes. I haven't had my kid in 3 months and all that. Dude, we've seen that across every spectrum of being a man. Hey, I finally got out of debt. Hey, I've been sober for X amount of time. Hey, my wife and I, we're back on good terms. The sex is great. The laughs are great. The fun is great. It's all returned. You see this across all the spectrums of being a man. And what's interesting is these men thought it couldn't be done. Every time, every single time. I can't, not me. That's for somebody else. It's like, dude, you're right there. You're on the cusp. You're recognizing the issue, but now you're letting your past self hold you back. And who you were, that's not stopping you from changing today. That's just you using an excuse. Oh, I can't come back from that. I spanked my kid this many times and there's no way I can fix that relationship. How the fuck would you know? You're not even trying. How do you know it's not going to work? What do you have to lose by just stopping the destructive behavior? Even if you don't think you can salvage the relationship, you can salvage, the time lost. Sure, maybe not, but you can fix yourself from wasting the future time. You can stop the cycle and prevent yourself from blowing up the next thing. Just because you've blown up 30 bridges doesn't mean you have to blow up the next bridge. Walk across that motherfucker and get on the other side of the land. Find yourself doing the right thing and watch how those relationships can be healed. Watch how you can get out of that debt. Watch how you can fix, that relationship you have with yourself. Watch how you can overcome the addictions that you've had. There's so much that you can fix, but you don't give yourself credit because you think, oh, I can't do that. And what's the real fear? I don't know what life is like without this. I don't know what life is like without alcohol or drugs. I don't know what life is like without bickering and fighting all the time or spanking kids. Bro, you find out. I know it's uncomfortable, but you have to find comfort in that discomfort of living a different life. That way you can become a different person. If you want to be different, you've got to be comfortable with living outside of your comfort zone. And so you might have been brought up in a home with violence, and you might have a home of violence, and you don't know what it's like, a home of peace, but we're here to help you during that transition. We're here to say, hey, it's going to be uncomfortable, and you're going to have a lot of questions. What do you do when the kid spills the milk? The whole time you've been yelling, and now you can't yell, and you're like, fuck, because I don't know what to do, I'm getting angry, because I'm panicking, because I don't know what path to. Don't replace, yelling with being angry and screaming. Talk to other men, so when that anger comes in, you've already spoken to us. We've given you those tools, and we said, hey, man, when this happens, try that. Or when this happens, I do this. Oh, spilt the milk? Hey, man, accidents happen. The other day, I spilt a bottle of water. Whatever. Fist bump, let's clean it up. Or if it was them just fooling around, hey, here's some paper towels. You go clean it up. Easy. Too easy. Life is good. These conversations can get you to where you want to go, but you've got to be willing to ask the questions and be comfortable being uncomfortable with learning and building a new self. And I would tell you right now, right before we hit live on this, I was talking to Anthony about something that I didn't know too much about. I was like, hey, man, I need to learn that. Like, I need you, like, when you're doing these things, show me so I can learn. It's uncomfortable to learn things because you have to admit, like, I don't know things. But the better and more comfortable you get saying, I don't know, I want to learn, the faster you learn. And guess what? Me in 2 weeks is going to be smarter than me today because I admitted the things I don't know today so I can learn about them. And there's going to be something else I have to learn about. I had to learn at one point how to run a YouTube channel. I had to learn how to run podcasts. And I've run live streams hundreds of times, sometimes with panels of 8 men, which is a very difficult thing to do, to balance 8 discussions and different perspectives on one topic within a limited time, a limited amount of time. You learn how to do it. I used to be public speaking was uncomfortable. And now we have however many people tuning into all these things, standing up on stage. I used to carry $30,000+ of debt. Now it's at 0. You have these things, you set up what you want to do in your life, and you just move in that direction. And you just do it and do it and do it until you get there. And guess what? Life gets better. Life is good. And you can give yourself permission to look back and be like, oh, all right, cool. We've been working really hard at this, and now we've made some progress. Now I actually like my life. Now I'm not fighting with my kids. Now I'm enjoying my marriage. How the fuck did I get here? This is nice. You were uncomfortable, and you just found comfort there. You did the hard things. You did the things that were necessary to change your life. You're never going to experience that, though, if you're constantly looking back at who you were and wanting to stay there. Look forward, man. Your windshield is this fucking big, and the rear view is that big. You should be looking forward 98% of the time and looking back 2%. You just glance up and say, all right, that's who I was. I don't want to be there anymore. 98% of the time, let's go forward. Most people are living the opposite. Their windshield is actually one giant mirror, and their glass they can see through is just the rear view mirror. It's that little speck, like, oh, that's how I look forward. Now let's look backward at all the bad things I did and all the shitty things I said and the horrible person I was. Man, you got to fucking grow up. You're running out of time. You're closer to death today than yesterday. Fucking grow up. Make the change, and let's do some fucking work like men do. That's what being a man is. It's not the beards and the guns and the whiskey. It's being able to grab your fucking balls and march forward in the face of direct conflict and saying, look, I'm here. It's hard. That's okay. I'm going to push through the resistance. I'm going to push through the discomfort. I'm going to push through because I'm a fucking man. I got somewhere I want to go, and I've got family that is leaning on me. I've got to build this and go forward with them. And so you carry them on your back through the broken glass of your childhood trauma, through the fire of the mistakes you made, and through the fucking cold ass fucking snow of all the poor decisions that you've made in the past that set you up for a shitty present. But when you make it through all of that, you reach the smooth beaches of being content with your life, and you can let them down. Like, all right, family, let's fucking go. Here's all the lessons I learned so you don't fuck it up.
Yeah, man. I think we're going to end it on that, brother. I don't think I could top that. That was a great rant. And I was just thinking, if we do these on Sundays now, I mean, shit, we have one day Saturday where we're not live streaming. I mean, look, why not?
Well, we can't do that, so we probably have to bring up a show on Saturday.
Let's
We're
do
all
it.
in, baby.
365 a day. That's how committed we are to this. But no, man, honestly, solid points. And again, we run Dad's Day on Twitter Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. We're gonna be building more things with Oak and Rock, like we announced in the beginning. Fraternity of Excellence. This is private men's community where men are constantly improving their life and getting after it. And we're going to just continue to grow and grow. I will say though, if there's questions you have, any comments, things you would like to know about fatherhood, parenting, obviously Oak and Rock Fatherhood, um, hit up Zach and myself, and we love to get insight to see where other people are struggling, where they need help, or even more importantly, things that you've done, right? You've listened to us, you've heard us, and you've made changes in your life, right? The family's getting better, things are happening. Share that with us, right? We just spoke for an hour about how important it is to speak up and share your truth, share who you are and what you're going through. That's a lot of what we're doing here, man. We're trying to bring the best out of people, the best out of our kids, and we're going to continue to push forward. That's it, brother. Another episode of Oak and Rock Sunday live stream. We're appreciate everybody tuning in. Have a good weekend.